North Carolina, and I ended up coming back to Virginia, and that is where I started to be homeless.
When you came back to Virginia, so how long were you in North Carolina for?
Maybe a couple of months, if that.
Okay, so you came back literally in the same year.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm out there living the homeless lifestyle, and I actually started living in a tent in
Mm-hmm.
2012. Um, I'm like, what, 23 at that time, about 22, 23-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And it was horrible. It was really the start of a bad life for me. Um, it's kind of hard to talk about, but I saw so much out there. I saw so much drug usage. I saw a lot of violence, stabbings, and people overdosing in their tents or
Wow.
being killed in their tents. I didn't witness any of that, but just knowing what was going on in those woods, it was scary. I was young. I didn't know any better. And during that time, I wanted to cling to somebody because I was out there alone. I was just a 22, 23-year-old female alone.
Yeah.
So I jumped from being in a relationship with a man for about 5 years to jumping into the arms of another gentleman, and he happened to live in the woods, and he took me in. During that time, I started drinking heavily, and it was a horrible time, and I ended up marrying that guy in 2014 on my 25th birthday.
Wow.
Yeah.
So before we jump there, I cannot imagine waking up or being even in an area where you found out someone who was close to you in the same location dying because of a drug overdose. What was that experience like for you the first time? What ran through your mind?
I didn't know much about drugs then, so I didn't know what to think. I felt bad. I'm just the type of person who I feel bad because someone was so upset with their life or their circumstances that they turned to drugs.
Right.
And I still feel that way. I don't understand why people are still turning to drugs, or some people are using it because it's quote unquote fun for them.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people, where it's more of a popularity thing, a trending thing until they are hooked. And that part there is scary.
It is.
That part is scary because I know some people, close people, relatives even, who are still, hooked, who were hooked for a long time. And then also some who have even passed. And so it's like being family, and just the fact that they went there, you grow up and you see these, these people, you look at them and you know who these people are.
Yes.
And you have a relationship with them. And so then when you see something different other than who you were seeing before, it's like, oh my goodness, you are not the person I knew as a child. I knew growing up. You were not the uncle, the aunt, the friend, the whoever it is that I knew then, because it literally changes people.
It does.
Changes them completely. And so it's really unfortunate, when it gets to that point where people are losing their lives behind these different substances that they feel like they cannot live without. At some point, they get to that point.
Right.
It's really, really unfortunate. And so, but did you know anyone, was there anyone that you knew at any time who had passed or overdosed or any of those things from drugs?
At that time, no. I
Okay.
did not know any of the people, and it was just so new to me because before coming out into that the homeless life, the hardest drug I've ever done was weed. So I knew
Right.
nothing about the meth and the heroin and the crack cocaine. I knew nothing about it. I was so sheltered as a child, and growing up, I didn't know anything about that type of stuff.
You were kept from that. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you experienced and went into the point where you became homeless, is that when it came and it introduced you to it?
Yes, that's
Okay.
where I ended up essentially learning about drugs and using drugs.
Oh, geez. Okay. And so you met this man, and when you met this man, you guys started a relationship, but you also said you married.
Yes, we did.
Okay. And how did that go? How was that marriage?
The marriage seemed like it was the thing to do. I'm not gonna lie. He was a really great guy. He had his issues with drinking, and I didn't like it. And I was young. I'm not gonna lie. I was unfaithful to him because I was just so young and not really ready for what marriage should be. I just wanted
Right.
that title, that paperwork, that solidarity. Like, okay, I have a husband now. Like, okay, my life is supposed to get better now.
Right. Right. I understand that language all too well. I understand it. And so what happened from that point?
We were at his mother's house. We were supposed to be leaving the next day to go to his grandmother's funeral, and he had been drinking, and he put his hands on me. And that was the first time. It wasn't the second, but it was the time that I said, okay, I've had enough, and I left him.
Wow. Wow. And how
Right in
long
his
have
mom's
you guys
house.
been married for?
We were only married for about a year at that time, and our marriage stayed on for 8 years. I recently just got finalized this past November
Okay.
because I couldn't find him, but it was a year into our marriage when I ended it.
Wow. Wow. And so what was you don't give us as little or as much as you want to. What was his reason? Why was he homeless?
I think if I remember correctly, he had just gotten out of jail. So to me, he was like so attractive. He had that